I have a lot of stories about guitar purchases that were try before I buy. I buyed because I tried. The best one probably is that blue Les Paul right there. I was not even in the market for a Les Paul. I didn't want a Les Paul because when I had done the research on Les Pauls, thinking that I might like a Les Paul, it just looked like they were all the same. I couldn't see any differentiation between any Les Paul and any other Les Paul. They all were just basically trying to make you think you were buying Jimmy Page's guitar, and obviously you weren't. And some of them were $3,000, some of them were $2,000. I didn't get it. It was just pass. Until I was at the Guitar Center. And I've done a video recently, don't give up on Guitar Center, but I was in a Guitar Center and I saw this Les Paul on the wall and it didn't look anything like any other Les Paul I'd ever seen. For one thing, it was blue, which is cool. It didn't have the binding and stuff, and I wasn't thinking about that, but obviously that's another thing that makes it look different. The biggest thing was that it had a brass nut on it. That really got my attention. I came up as a saxophone player. For jazz, brass mouthpiece for a saxophone is the thing. And so when I saw the brass, I was like, ooh. I didn't know if it was a thing or not for guitars, but it just got me interested. It made me want to play the guitar. And then when I played the guitar, kind of knew I had to leave with it. Like I couldn't leave without it. And I didn't leave without it. I bought that guitar. But it was only after I played it and loved it that I looked up all the specs and stuff and realized what was in that guitar that made it so much better than the other Les Pauls on the wall. The moral of the story is going the other way doesn't work as well. Specs are okay. Specs are good. I'm glad we have such access to information now. But you can get lost in specs. And at the end of the day, you cannot reduce the difference in the feel and sound and everything of a guitar with numbers. You just can't feel it from looking at the numbers. A couple years ago, I was on this quest for a Stratocaster with a maple neck. I just had this thing in my head. It actually starts way back when I was a teenager. My neighbor across the street had a Fender Stratocaster, and we would talk about why we loved this guitar of his. And he would say, it's that Fender neck. The neck was a different color than other guitars. Now I know that, it was a maple neck and other guitars are like rosewood. I just loved that. And I loved, like, there was this video of the Dire Straits guy playing Sultans of Swing. I just wanted a Fender Stratocaster with a maple neck because I liked it when I was a teenager and I wanted one. After high school, I actually bought this vintage Fender Bullet, which was kind of like a Stratocaster, had the maple neck, it had the thing. I didn't have that anymore though. So I go to Guitar Center and I tell the guy at the Guitar Center, I'm looking for a maple neck Stratocaster. And I tried an American Professional II, and it was great. I loved that thing. And I just didn't really want to buy it. At the time, they were like $1,500 MSRP. They were like on sale frequently for $1,300, brand spanking new. And I had tried a couple different ones and I liked them all. And it's so interesting now because now I could sell that guitar used for $1,500 and it profited $200. So amazing what's happened the past couple of years. In the end, I ended up with a PRS Silver Sky with a maple fretboard. And this was a different story. I didn't buy this because of the maple fretboard. I liked the idea of the maple fretboard though. It was like kind of a bonus. It's behind me. It's a Lunar Ice. It's a limited edition. They did the Nebula, 500 pieces, then they did the Lunar Ice, 1,000 pieces, and then recently they did that dead spec one. But I liked the idea of the Lunar Ice. I thought it would be a good speculative investment, like a bet, basically. I had this thing in my head. I don't know if you remember how scalping was at this time, but in 2021, 2022, man, people were just selling stuff for crazy money and getting it. So I thought, because the release of the Lunar Ice model, which was a year after the Nebula model, caused the Nebula prices to spike, that if I bought a Lunar Ice at the right price, the next year, if they release another one, then the Lunar Ice prices would spike and I could cash out quick. And then if that didn't happen, I'm sure in 20 years, there were only 1,000 of these. People are gonna want them. So I was comfortable that if I get it in at the right price, it's a safe bet. I'm not gonna lose my money. That bump didn't happen. They didn't release another limited edition the next year, and only recently they did release the dead spec. And when they released the dead spec, the Lunar Ice prices didn't bump the way I thought they might, which was okay. The bet wasn't that, oh, they'll definitely do it. It's just that it might happen, and if it happens, that will be a good opportunity. And if it doesn't happen, I'm okay too. It was a good purchase. I got a good price for that guitar. And I love the guitar. I can actually never sell the guitar. Even if the prices did skyrocket, I can't sell the guitar now because I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and they always want daddy to play the sparkly blue guitar. I guess I did lose my money. But I learned something different about my love for maple fretboards when I got this Silver Sky, and that's that the maple fretboard on the Silver Sky is not the same as the maple fretboard on the Fender. The maple fretboard on the Fender, and I didn't realize this until I owned the thing that wasn't the thing, it's got a coating on it. They put finish over that maple fretboard. PRS doesn't put finish over this maple fretboard. This maple fretboard is closer to like the way a fretboard would feel on a vintage maple Strat, and the nitro has all worn off. Like that's what this feels like. But the thing I liked, the thing I'd played, the thing I wanted, as far as maple fretboards go, was what my neighbor called the Fender neck, which is its finished one. And then in all the thing, with this thing, I found this guitar in my father-in-law's basement. You know what I learned? I like rosewood better. I ended up wanting pickups for this because for my purposes playing at church and stuff, this was actually more useful to me than the Silver Sky, even though Silver Sky just is a way better guitar. So playing stuff does give you information that you can't get from reading about it online or even watching videos and listening online. Getting your hands on guitars is a thing. There's no substitute for it. Go out there and play in public, be making music, be a musician. Don't just be a bedroom guitar player. That's okay, but it's much better if you just get into the habit of making music for other people, because that's what this is really about.